Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast, the recap of Stage 12 of La Vuelta, a medium mountain stage, but with a mountain that finishes about 25 k's from the finish, the Collado de Brenes. Beforehand, there's another categorized climb, the Puerto de Alisas. But yeah, the Brenes is 7 k's, 8%. It's pretty steep. It's narrow. It's got some mixed, surfaces. They got the horses going up there. There's mud on there. The descent's a little bit, it's pretty fast. And then, 16 k's highway to the finish in Los Corrales de Buelna. And 146 k's, not that long. We've got the Angler Route tomorrow. And normally when the spectre of a brutal finish is on the cards for the day afterwards, the peloton, or at least the GC riders, are a bit more apprehensive about playing their cards in these stages. Breakaway, some housekeeping from yesterday. So Israel Premier Tech, I think, issued a statement saying they intend to continue in the race until Madrid. And they continued and started today. The Vuelta's technical director, Kiko Garcia, gave an interview yesterday, a flash interview, but this is on the Cadena Ser, like an article. And yeah, quite a surprising interview, to be honest, because he basically said what we surmised was happening behind the scenes, which was that the Vueltas, the organization, was kind of hoping that, or putting pressure on Israel Premier Tech to leave the race. But to say it openly and say, not just us as organizers, we can't make any decisions because the regulations require the team, Israel Premier Tech, to be here. And then what else did he say? But yeah, it was quite like, he made it very clear that basically if they had their choice, Israel Premier Tech wouldn't be there. Quite surprising to hear, especially as it's a World Tour race and they have an obligation to make the race safe for all the teams that are participating, especially if the UCI haven't expelled them. And subsequently, there was then a statement that was a bit more expected from the Vuelta in Spanish and English yesterday evening, somewhat contradictory of that. Let me scroll and get it, where they, I think, correctly put the onus more on the fact that the race should be safe for the riders and protests that were trying to basically disrupt the race, crash the riders, etc., were unacceptable, and that's the position, or the official position, of the organization. And so they can't, to quote, they cannot tolerate any acts that put at risk the physical safety of the participants or any member of the race caravan. So yeah, I was quite surprised to see that interview of the technical director, and then I'm not surprised that statement then came out from the organization at 10:40 yesterday evening. But fortunately for you guys listening, hopefully, at least, well, today, there was no issues. There was peaceful protests, lots of Palestinian flags on the course being waved by the fans, but otherwise the stage went off without a hitch from what I could see, Benji.
Also, when you look at the profile of the stage, then I think I mentioned during the Vuelta a España profile, route review or route reaction, or even our preview for this race, that this reminded me of a stage victory of Patrick Conrad in the Tour de France 2021. Now, I've looked at the parcours. That stage was a little bit harder. So today's stage leans more on the fact that it looks like it's going to be a breakaway stage. You already mentioned the parcours being basically 2 climbs, 2 medium mountains that are very far separated from each other. But the first one, being within the first 50 kilometers, allows for that to be part of the breakaway formation phase of this race. So the first 30 kilometers are flat. Then the climb is 8.6 kilometers. You mentioned earlier, but that plays a role, especially also in how breakaway is formed. Let's say in the first 30 kilometers of the stage, we had mostly attacks coming left and right, and also actually a group getting away, a group of 22 riders that included Soler of UAE, but also a lot of rouleurs, I would classify them as. But it wasn't the final breakaway, because it seemed like some people were waiting for the climb later. We didn't know it yet at that point, but there were still actions, and the breakaway wasn't getting a massive gap either at that point. Visma Bike was controlling a little bit. They didn't seem too intrigued to go for the stage based on what I could perceive from the breakaway formation. If anything, it looked like Campenaerts was being put in the breakaway as a maybe defensive satellite rider, maybe as a breakaway option, maybe as an offensive satellite rider. We didn't know at the time. But we get to the bottom of the climb, and then new attacks start to follow. And one of the prime riders to do so is Soler's teammate. And that includes Juan Ayuso. And he really fires it up on the Puerto de Alisal, that 8-kilometer climb. And we're talking about those 22 riders being up the road. Ayuso coming with a few other riders in his wheel. Were there other riders that you were like, okay, this rider looks dangerous for the stage victory?
I just saw the whole Movistar team was in the breakaway, which was kind of cool. So yeah, the Movistar team with Hessman, Castrillo, Roma. I was like, okay, they have 5 riders in the break. What was miraculous to me, and I got to be honest, I wasn't watching the jumping too closely. I was expecting this to be what was I doing? No, it wasn't. Was it televised?
The jumping on the first climb, yes. Before that, not really, so.
I was following the ticker initially. And what I was surprised by was to get a break of this size, 55 riders in the end.
Ridiculous.
No one near the top 10, no one remotely a GC threat.
Very true. The only rider that was, I think, the closest in GC was Armirai on roughly 9 minutes of GC, so he could potentially enter the top 10 at the end of the stage, but I've got a philosophical question for you. I hinted at it before we started recording, but I haven't told you what the question is. 55 riders in the breakaway. Everyone and their dog knew that it was going to be a break stage, so everyone and their dog is in this breakaway stage. But how many riders need to be in a breakaway before the breakaway becomes the first peloton?
I think it's still breakaway. It's a first group.
I don't agree with that. Because then when we go to a sprint stage, the peloton is the breakaway at the end of the stage. By our definition.
No, I
Here
just
it's
mean
still a breakaway.
Where the GC leader and the majority of GC top 10 riders are, is the peloton.
Okay. Yeah. For me,
and the
for me
peloton,
it depends on the size.
It can be, to me, the peloton can be 8 riders. And there can be 150 ahead. But if...
I call that the gruppetto.
If the main... Yeah, that's Jasper Philipsen.
Wait. So you're saying that if Jasper Philipsen is in the red jersey on stage 1 and stage 2 is a mountain stage and he gets dropped in breakaway formation...
Nah, because he's not the main...
with Philipsen is the peloton.
Because he's not the main GC rider. So that's like if there's echelons on the first stage of a stage race and it's 13, 15... It's good examples, Paris-Nice. As it is a good... Paris-Nice stage 5 when Visma sent it, Pedersen Tarling came across. To me, that's the peloton. Or when there's crosswind, does it become there's no peloton at all? It's just echelons.
Very good question. I think it depends on the context. In crosswind stages, then I agree, it's echelons plus maybe a breakaway, an early breakaway ahead. I think that's the difference you can make. On today's stage, I tend to... I first was going to say, when the size of the groups becomes a wash... Then I'd say it's 2 pelotons, but I actually don't agree with that statement. I think I agree with you that it depends on...
the power balance.
Yeah, it's true. So a bit of a ship of Theseus question for you to line up today's podcast. But this breakaway has 54 riders. Should I go through all of them? The most important riders are Ayuso Soler for UAE Team Emirates, Kampenaerts for Visma Leasebike, Mes Pedersen very active in break formation, also present with 2 teammates, Søren Krogh Andersen in the Danish jersey and Julien Bernard. As you said, Movistar with Romo, Hessman, Garcia Cortina Castrillo, also a candidate for the stage next to Romo and Canal. Then we've got, I would say, Quickstep important with Landa, Van Stevenant, Vervaeke, Garofoli, Sheffield, Kwiatkowski for Ineos, Belocchi, who's been strong together with Shaw, Quinn and Van der Leij for EF, Armirai, who was the closest rider in GC on 9 minutes, Butrago and Pickering for Bahrain. Sorry it's taking so long, but it's a very long list. Mollard, Brieux, Cronin, who... shockingly good performance today. We'll get to it later. Together with Kung for Groupama FDJ. 3 Astana riders, but I'll be honest, I didn't really see them too much in this stage, so might as well not mention them. Abel Balderstone for Cajarural was relevant. Eddie Dunbar of Jayco. Cofidis with Samitien Herrada played a role on a climb, so important to mention. And Alex Segard I'll mention for Lotto with a couple of teammates as well. So I can't mention 54 riders, but those are the ones that I saw on TV the most from this breakaway. Is that fair?
Yeah, exactly. It's the 2 UAE boys, and then Movistar have got a very good team for this with Castrillo, Romo, and co. And so, yeah, it's them, and then EF are always good. Belocchi won Alsace. Belocchi's coming into him, is sort of becoming a very good climber. The reason no Fugas succeed, I think, is the size of the break, and it's also the number of rouleurs. So and Mads Pedersen. So you got an intermediate sprint. It's only 12 Ks, 15 Ks, 12 Ks before the main climb, Brennes. So you cannot Fuga because Pedersen wants max points, and Søren Kragh Andersen has one job, and that's to make sure Mads Pedersen gets maximum points of that intermediate sprint. And we see that happen straight afterwards. Pedersen himself tries to create a Fuga, but now you only have 12 Ks to create a sufficient advantage and get away from the group behind. Normally, when you're off the leash, because Visma don't care, Visma are just letting the gap out, normally the Fuga can start way earlier and then get a real gap. That can't happen because of the IS placement. And so we do see one go. It goes with Sheffield, Broe Roland, James Shaw, Finley Pickering.
Correct. And the last rider is, I've got it right here, it is Hesman and Gernalek.
Hesman, Gernalek, not Abel Balderstone?
Not on my list.
No.
So yeah, I've got Hesman, Sheffield, Shaw, Pickering, Roland, and Gernalek.
By the way, Abel Balderstone, he is in the Tom Donenworth, like...
What does that mean, in the Tom Donenworth?
You're Scottish, mate.
Oh. Okay. So you're talking about riders that have a name that does not fit their place of nationality. What was the Simon Carr situation again?
Sorry, Simon Carr is how you say it correctly.
Is that true? Because the last time I said it like that, people were saying I was culturally appropriating France.
No, he's English. Or British. But he lived in Occitanie or the south of France for a lot of his life. No, Balderstone, I even made an incorrect statement there. It's from Lancashire. It's from the medieval English place name of Balderstone in Lancashire.
The entirety of England is medieval, I'm sorry. And I live in it, so I can say that.
You been to Flanders, mate?
I'm sorry. I have to do a bit of a rant.
How is it possible?
Roads. How is it possible? Don't you dare say it.
What, Flanders has not doesn't have the idea of roads having different categorization and being different sizes has not been introduced there. They are all the same size. It takes 40 minutes to go 10 Ks. You don't have highways.
We do have highways
in West Flanders.
Yes. The famous E40.
I didn't ride on it.
That's not my problem.
In Australia,
if I go
in the UK,
to Australia
you ride on that.
and I close my eyes and I say, "Oh, you don't have highways."
Oh no, you'll see them in Australia, Benji. You'll see the highways in Australia. You can't avoid them. Everything's a highway.
I went to Adelaide. I didn't see a highway. Just saw very wide roads.
I've forgotten what I was saying.
I was gonna say that Belgian bread is so much better than UK bread. I need to get that off my chest. It's actually a pain in my life.
Probably true. I'll give you that one. I'll allow it.
Okay.
What was happening? Yeah, so there's a Fuga on this climb, and then basically Van Sevenot started to pace because Mikko Lander's in the group. As the climb starts, we see Soler move Ayuso into position. Then it's, I think, an EF attacks, but then it's basically Soler begins the lead out. Ayuso is on the wheel, and we think the inevitable is coming. Juan Ayuso is going to get launched by Marc Soler, although, yeah, Marc Soler is doing the pace that he can also get over the top with a good group. Like, he's not pulling to complete exhaustion, nor does he have to. It's very steep. It's 16%. It's actually tactically, it's better that Soler comes across in a group behind and doesn't blow up in without knowing what would happen ahead. Ayuso goes, of course. There's a break ahead with Roland and Finley Pickering, who are looking very good, and Shaw. But yeah, Ayuso goes. Finley Pickering reacts to the wheel. Magnus Sheffield just dropped the wheel as Soler was doing the lead out, and then Romo comes across to Ayuso, who was at that moment solo, despite Pickering trying to get to his wheel and then dropping. Romo comes across.
And also comes from the second group. It's not that Romo was in that group with Sheffield and so forth. He came from the, I was going to say the peloton. That's not true. That's the incorrect group assessment of that description. The main group of the breakaway, the breakaway peloton he came from. And that shows that he's also super strong on the day. We saw the other day that it was a bit of a wash between Castrillo and Romo, depending on when they spend their energy, because Romo went earlier the other day. On today's climb, Romo looked extremely strong. When Ayuso went, he made a bit of a gap on the others, and there was this moment that I was like, okay, Ayuso's going to go and he's going to win the stage solo, but no, Romo kept crawling closer, and I do find it a little bit funny that Solare's now relayed more for Ayuso as a domestique than for Almeida in this Vuelta, but it's low-key funny. Nonetheless, Romo gets to the wheel of Ayuso here, and they start relaying relatively well on the climb, I would say, to the point that we saw one person behind that still potentially having a chance of catching up here, and it was Brieuc Roland from Groupama FDG. But for the people that don't know Brieuc Roland, how would you describe that rider? Because when people think about Roland the cyclist, they think about Pierre Roland still. But there's a new one on the block, right? And he's pretty young still.
He's 22 years old. He's in his first year professional with Groupama FDG. Bigger than his name suggests. He's actually 1.79 according to PCS. He looks, just kind of like a decent climber, not a classics rider, not a sprinter, not a puncher, just like a tall breakaway climber on his day. That's what he was. He was very strong. If the motos were equal, I think he comes back maybe not at the top of the climb, but the problem for him was Romo relays full with Ayuso, and he's 1 against 2 on like very, very fast roads. So I think he must have done a very good descent, but he's 1 against 2. And also the 2 he's against, they're not Landa and Buitrago. They're like big climbers, Romo and Ayuso. What I noticed immediately on the climb, Romo's earpiece was out. Like the whole time. The earpiece was out. And thinking ahead, and this reminded me of the Nicolas Prudhomme, Kian Otterbroek's Tour de l'Ain, which we all watched, obviously, stage 2. As soon as you get, it's Romo pulling with Ayuso to the top full, as long as you don't get dropped, which he wasn't, he was very strong, totally fine. At the crest, first of all, you have to have your earpiece in. At the crest, you have to, then you cannot win. Romo cannot win against Ayuso when they reach the crest. Impossible. He cannot.
But do we know where Castrillo is at that point?
Well, you can't know when you don't have your earpiece in.
Fair point, but do we know?
Yeah, Castrillo is in a small group, and there's basically Landa, I think Santi, Bellocchi, Soler, Baldostone, and
maybe 8 riders roughly.
No one fast. Like, it's Movistar have the numbers, and I think Soler kind of wanted Group 2 to come back. Like, he was shuffling people through, like, hey, it's up to you guys to pull so I can attack when it comes back. Actually, Soler was a good teammate today, but yeah, I'm just like, Castrillo, I think, was stronger than Soler for starters. On the flat, Castrillo is definitely stronger than Soler, and Romo cannot win. He cannot beat Ayuso in the sprint. We then see the whole descent happens. The Movistar car eventually gets to come through because they put the gap on 1 minute and 3 seconds. And so they let the car through. So they came through. The car's nearly crashing the brake because they're trying to speak to Romo. You see Chente go immediately, where's your earpiece? What the fuck? He then points, I think I'm remembering this correctly, he points behind.
I think so too.
And he's like, what the fuck are you doing? I assume he's saying... I don't know if
he said that in English, but...
He should have. No, he should have. Because Romo's pulling more than Ayuso.
Yeah.
And then it was too late. Because by the time he gets across, the group behind is 25 riders with Campenaerts and Pedersen, and now you can't play Castrillo anymore.
Because like the only 2 portions where you can play Castrillo is on the climb at the crest, like you say, in that initial period where it's a small group behind.
Straight after the descent finishes.
Or maybe you can try it in the last 4 kilometers and you say, I've got Castrillo behind, I'm going to sit in the wheel now, stuff like that to try and save your energy before a sprint. But you can't really do that then because Castrillo doesn't have a sprint either, so it's not really a realistic card. Ayuso will also know that you're fucking him over at that point. So it's
you wait after the descent, and then you let the small group come back, and then you play Castrillo.
It's
maybe
true.
it doesn't work. He goes to Soler, and then let Castrillo sprint against Soler. I'll take those odds.
Ironically, we see the opposite kind of happening, where we enter the last flat segment towards the finish line, the last 10 kilometers. The gap from that bigger group that includes Castrillo, Soler, etc., it does close down to maybe 50 seconds, 45 seconds. Broe is apparently still in between, still kicking it on 20 seconds of the front of the race, roughly. And the first rider to stop relaying in the front group, or at least skip a turn or reduce his relay, is Ayuso with about 4 kilometers to go, just over 4 kilometers to go, which that's what you would have expected from Romo earlier in the stage, like you said. But in this case, it's the other way around, and it looks like Romo's like, dude, what are you doing here? What do you think the idea of Ayuso was? Was it, okay, Romo at this point is working less since the car has come?
Yeah, so Romo probably started to work a little bit less. And then Ayuso said in the post-race interview that his team car told him to play it like, say, I already won a stage. I don't need to win another stage. Like, what have you? Yeah, I don't need to win this. Also, this, I think Romo's from around near here, maybe. If you don't know Javier Romo, by the way, he won a stage in TDU this year. He was on the the Astana 2022 team when they had like a lot of talent, but it wasn't all going right. He's a former triathlete. He's really, really strong, like power climber. He's from Villafranca de los Caballeros.
Do you think his Astana years, during the years where Astana was not doing very well, negatively impacted his progression as a cyclist?
Yeah, I think 22, if you look at the riders that were on that team and then subsequently performed, like Tejada, Scaroni, Romo, Velasco, etc. Yeah, I mean, that it just wasn't going well then. So, but yeah, he's a big talent, and we saw in TDU, unfortunately, some riders. It's going to sound like Skip Bayless here, but some riders don't have the clutch gene, and you can't see it on my little nerdy spreadsheets. You can't see it in the power data. You can see it in results. Some riders have the clutch gene, some riders do not have the clutch gene. And if you watch Willunga Hill this year at TDU, you could see that the pressure of defending the jersey completely made Romo completely lose it. And today something similar happened. Like, I think if he started to finesse Ayuso, I think Ayuso would also. Ayuso is not going to let the group come back. Ayuso is not going to let the group come back, so Soler can sprint against Mads Pedersen.
No.
But Romo was just freaking out.
I agree, but I also would probably say that if Romo played it differently, Movistar loses this race anyway, in my opinion.
Oh, I don't agree.
Because Soler is also in that group to control for Ayuso then.
Nah, then Castrillo would attack, Soler would go with him, and Soler would cooperate with Castrillo. And then you got a chance.
Soler would clean up Castrillo.
I don't know.
Actually, I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you either. So, I mean, I can understand it. He's Spanish. It's probably the biggest opportunity of his career. But yeah, he basically.
If I'm Romo, I'd probably play it the same.
Yeah, you didn't need to lead out a guy who's way quicker than you, I don't think.
That is true. But at the top of the climb part with the earpiece, I'd probably play it the same way.
I agree. On that
the
part, I
chance
kind
to
of
top
agree.
to a Vuelta stage, personally, is probably valuable for him.
I can get that part. Where you're like, okay, I'm not doing the fancy 1-2 with Castrillo nonsense for Mads Pedersen to come back and win the sprint, but you can play the last 3Ks a little bit better.
Agree. Fully agree.
Anyway, Ayuso wins the sprint. And like we expected when we saw them crest the top of the climb, Romo second, Spanish 1-2, Broe Roland never on camera, 13 seconds. Must have been a very strong performance. Campanel's kept attacking the group behind. Fourth, Pedersen fifth. But Pedersen won the sprint. Campanel's was solo and just got caught sort of just before the line, or after the line rather. Then sixth, House on 7th, Petrago 8th, Bolocchi 9th, Castrillo 10th.
That is now the they won the team time trial. Vine won 2 stages, Ayuso won 2 stages, the 5th victory for UAE Team Emirates in this Vuelta. And let's say hypothetically, Patrick, we see this Vuelta a España come to the end with Almeida currently projected to be P2 at the end of the race, with at least 5 stage victories, could be 6 by the end of this race, to be honest, on the stage 16, if I recall correctly. It looks like a breakaway stage. The Miguel Angel Lopez jumps into the guard stage. That could go to the breakaway. That kind of stuff could be 6 victories for UAE Team Emirates by the time this race ends. And if I think about that, then I think to myself, could be 7 if you count El Morodero as well as a potential breakaway stage.
Ayuso win the TT. Why not?
Give me 1 second. I think Filippo Ganna is going to win the TT.
You seen Ganna in this race?
No, he's waiting. He's waiting. Why else is he here? I'm sorry.
He's contractually required to be here. I don't know. Like,
I still expect Ganna to be the user in the time trial, but he does have a chance to use it.
Don't be surprised.
It's a bit longer than the usual winning time trial of a user, though.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but
that's the one thing.
Maybe Jay will win the TT. I wouldn't be surprised with that either. There's no KOM points to the TT though.
I see Jay Vine as a possibility as well. Yeah. You know, those 3 riders could be the podium at the end of that. But anyway, we'll find that out later. But that's a massive Grand Tour for UAE Team Emirates, even if they don't win GC, which is a weird thing to look at because stage wins, if you try to win the race, then stage wins are, on paper, consolation prizes. But if you start winning so many of them, then it's a fucking good race, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially because Almeida was never the favorite of this race to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. Although, yes, but Almeida is trying to win the race. Like, Almeida hasn't given up. His behavior and the way he's attacking is not someone who's given up on winning the race. And so I can understand if he would want probably a little bit more support. Today, go in the break. Almeida's not going to try anything. Nothing's going to happen. Go in the break. On the days when Almeida's actually trying to do something, they should probably rally around him at least one time.
I agree with you on these breakaway stages in general, but I do think going in the breakaway every single day like this with Vine, Ayuso, and Soler, they switch the days, but that can definitely come at a cost on a stage like tomorrow on the final climb.
Yeah, like why didn't Visma put Koos in the break?
Because I think...
Because isn't
it weird? Isn't it weird, Patrick? Because hypothetically, if we look at the 2 teams, then Jonas Vingegaard is the favorite of this race. And on paper, he's the rider that needs his teammates less than someone who's trying to beat Jonas Vingegaard. But we've seen the logic always be played the other way around because of the fact that the teams that aren't the favorite want other prizes along the way just in case they don't win. We saw that with Visma Lease Bike at the Tour de France. We see that UAE Team Emirates here. And the reason that Kuss and Jorgensen are not going in the break is, in my opinion, because Jonas Vingegaard, first of all, is the favorite. Plus, they want to support with him. If Jonas Vingegaard was the second favorite and Pogacar was here, I think Visma would be more in the breakaway.
Exactly. And it also depends on the GC gaps and how they've looked. So, yeah, obviously I'm defending myself or the team, but Visma got a lot of stick for stage 15 of the Tour when they were trying to go in the breakaway and Vingegaard was caught behind. But at that point in the race, Pogacar was on 4 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So maybe 4:30, 4 minutes 20. So Almeida's on 50 seconds. We haven't had a hard mountaintop finish yet. We haven't had a proper mountain stage yet. He's on 50 seconds. Now, do we expect Almeida to just destroy Vingegaard? No. But what if Vingegaard has a bad moment on Angliru?
That's the chance for Almeida to win. Let's talk about Angliru because that is tomorrow's stage, actually. It's 200 kilometers most of the time. An Angliru stage is actually a lot shorter.
Usually
it's
125.
3 climbs in the race. 125, you say, usually?
Normally it's 125, 130, yeah.
Now it's 200 kilometers, and the 3 climbs were in the last 50 kilometers, the Alto La Mosqueta, 6.4 kilometers, 8.2%. I learned from Patrick, I think, a week ago what a mosqueta is. Isn't that like... I'm sorry if I misunderstood, but isn't it like mosques on top of each other or something?
Mezquita.
Mesquita. Oh, okay, I was close enough. Nonetheless, the second last climb is then the Alto del Cordal.
Mezquita
right?
is the Spanish word for mosque.
Okay, I'll take it. Nonetheless, Alto del Cordal is the climb just before Angliru. That is 5.5 kilometers, 8.8%. I vividly recall Per La Tour attacking either on the descent before Cordal or on the descent of Cordal in the year that Froome still rode his last Vuelta for Ineos, if I recall correctly. So a long time ago.
2020.
But that pops into my head every single time when I see the Cordal. But
dude,
it's all about Angliru.
That was the year Carapaz. Go and look that team up. Look up the team they sent to that Vuelta with Carapaz. He would have won that, man. It was...
My search isn't working because search sucks on every website these days.
Yeah, can you read the names out to me? Carapaz 2020.
My search very slow. I'm trying my best, okay? Richard Carapaz.
Sky
2020. Vuelta. Start list. And they had such a very different jersey. It was so difficult to find. Chris Froome, Carapaz, Amador, Mikael Golas, Rivera when he wasn't good yet, Sosa, who blows away when the wind is a little bit higher than usual.
Sosa wasn't there.
And Dylan van Barle and Cameron Worth. So
Froome was the best climber. Froome was the best climber for Carapaz.
He was the guy pacing Cordal
I'm not trolling.
Before Angliru, I swear.
Yeah.
But Carapaz finished on 24 seconds that year.
Yeah. That was the Hofstede satellite and then Movistar pacing Roglic back to...
Mate.
That was cinema, that Vuelta.
Our first Vuelta, that was.
Yeah, that was in November. We were on our last legs after doing 3 Grand Tours in 6 weeks.
Kind of like now. I'm on my last legs, I won't lie.
Yeah, as well. I'm getting there.
But Angliru, let's talk about the gradients. 12.4 kilometers, 9.8% is the average gradient. But if you look very closely towards the actual in-depth gradients of the climb, then the first 4 kilometers is 7-8%, already quite hard. But no action will happen there, I reckon. Then a kilometer at 2.7%, so that's basically falls flat for these professionals. And then the next 6-ish kilometers, I'm sorry, 10%, 13.9, 11.7, 13. Then a full kilometer at 16.6%, I would die, literally. I would be dead on the road there. 14.7% for the next kilometer, and then it flattens out between quotes for the last kilometer, 5 to the finish line. But that is an insanity of a climb, and we all know what happened last time on the slopes of the Angliru. We had Jonas Vingegaard and Primoz Roglic leaving Sepp Kuss behind on the slopes of Angliru. That was the drama that day. Do we expect any drama tomorrow, GC-wise?
I think anything can happen on the Angliru. I mean, this is a different test to what we've had so far. It's 40-minute effort. And of course, there's 5Ks at like 13%. Incredibly difficult. It's a mythical climb. It's where riders normally set their 30-minute all-time because it's not that high altitude. Starts at, the steep section starts like 700. But it's a long stage though. That's what does change things. I know it's no categorized climbs for the first 145 Ks, but still, it's a long time to be riding. And 6K is 13.5%. I mean, it suits the lighter riders. We should see Riccitello, Pidcock doing well here. Hindley. It's good for Almeida in that he can just pace himself and just do his own race. It's probably bad because he's not 58 kilos.
And teammates do matter on a climb this steep, because the initial thought is always steep climb equals no drafts. Sure, less draft, I would say, for a very steep climb like this. There's still a little bit somewhere probably, but it's a bit of a wash on Angliru on the steepest sections, I would say. But there's more the psychological value of having a Sepp Kuss by the side of Jonas Vingegaard here. If Jonas Vingegaard has a bad day tomorrow, the fact that Sepp Kuss is there tells me that he won't be losing that much time either way.
Yeah,
With
exactly.
Roglic, when he had a bad day
Yeah.
on Angliru.
Koos is always good on Angliru. So is Wout Poels. So these sort of the very tall climbers are typically the very skinny ones are very good on Angliru. So Felix Goll, looking at you. But I think, what do I think?
Tom Pidcock, any questions?
Should be good for Pidcock. I mean, he's so light and he's in such good shape. He really should be second on this.
But it's not a Unipuerto stage fully this time around.
No, it's got... And those two climbs before, they're hard. They're not easy climbs.
Especially because I expect Visma to also ride them relatively hard, especially the Cordal.
I think Vingegaard should win the stage. The gap... It could be... The Vuelta could be ended tomorrow. It might not be. And then even if Vingegaard wins by, say, 30 seconds... That would almost be like viewed as an underperformance because he took 25 seconds on a nothing climb. On the other hand, he still, like yesterday got dropped by Pidcock, he still took 14 seconds on Almeida. Yeah. So, or 12 seconds rather. So yeah, taking time is always good. That's my hot take. But yeah, I think Vingegaard should win the stage. I think Riccitello will do very well. Hindley will do pretty well and drop Pellizzari considerably. I think Lasserre should do well. And who else did I think? Yeah, Goal in theory, but I'm not that impressed by his shape.
Does the stage being 200 kilometers long change the potential for a breakaway? Because the only team that could control from the peloton here for the stage is Visma Leasebike.
Yeah, but if Visma control with Van Baarle, to win the stage, you have to be a slender climber. So it would need to be the perfect mix of tug buddies who are engines. Because if it's just strong guys, like even Romo and Ayuso, they're too big. Like he can't climb the Angliru that fast right now. I mean, he couldn't also in 23. He's just too big. So they would need a huge advantage at the bottom. These sort of in-between climbers like Soler, Romo.
Jay Vine?
Vine as well. Do you reckon they put the guys around Almeida?
I think they should for tomorrow, to be honest. They could have them as satellite riders up the road, though. If you think a rider is going to struggle a little bit after Mosqueta and Cordal, but then again, it's going to be really difficult to get in the breakaway as well, I think. So you're going to spend a lot of energy doing that. I think I'd keep them around Almeida tomorrow. Like, this is the day. They've got breakaway stages the day after, if you want.
I think the way I mean, you can kill two birds with one stone, right? Just stay around Almeida, help the break be controlled, and then Vine can just take the KOM points on the two category ones. That's 10 points apiece. No one will contest him for it.
I don't think controlling the breakaway is necessary from UAE. I think that's Visma territory.
Why they put a bony gate on Cordal?
Mate, I don't fucking know, man. I look at that bony gate. You know where I want a bony gate? At the end of the flat kilometer before the steep section.
Who can win from the break? It has to be like a Lasserre character who's on 4:34 and GC gets in.
I don't see them. Because like today, a lot of people try to get in the breakaway, but today was also the break is going to win 100%.
And also, they probably could have caught the breakaway.
Yeah.
So,
anyway. Today I don't think so. Because it's a lot of riders that would have probably relayed with more domestiques.
They start chilling, and so they have no need for the gap to go out more. What do you think happens?
I think Jonas Vingegaard wins the stage. I think he expands his gap in GC. That's the brain talking. The heart says, I want the close race and I want to see a little bit of a crack in Jonas so that we have a challenge for the last week. And then Bola del Mundo decides that's what I want to see. I don't care who of the 2 wins, who are the 3 wins, who are the 4 wins, who are the 5 wins. I just want a close race.
Because if you have a crisis, just 2Ks from the top of Angliru, then you can lose a lot of time. Hope you enjoyed the recap of stage 12, and we'll see you with the famous Angleroo finish tomorrow. Until then, ciao, ciao.